Warning, the following podcast is brought to you by dads who can never remember the Wi-Fi password. Welcome to the All Per Dad Podcast.
Hey dads, today we're talking about something that can change the way you parent almost overnight. It's called temperament. Your kid was born with a built-in default setting for how they respond to the world. And understanding it can help you stop the daily power struggles and start connecting in a way that actually works. There are 4 basic temperaments. Every kid and every adult leans towards one of these. Let me walk you through them really quick. The first one is the yellow temperament. These are our extroverted, people-oriented kids. They're fun-loving, life is a party, and want you to join in. They're loud, they're outgoing, they're optimistic, and they hate being bored. If it's not fun, they're just not interested. And if you give them a long lecture, forget it. They're already tuned out completely. Think about Jack Black or Jennifer Lawrence. They're funny, they're full of energy, and always pulling people in. They light up a room or occasionally tear it apart. The next temperament is the red temperament. These are our extroverted, task-driven kids. They want to win. They want to be in charge. They've got this big energy and they like being the boss. But that means if you come at them with do it because I said so, they're going to push back. Think Serena Williams or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Confident, competitive, and not afraid to take the lead. The next temperament is the blue temperament. These are our introverted, task-oriented kids. These are your deep feelers. They're thoughtful, they're careful, they're perfectionistic, and usually they're their own toughest critic. They want to get things right, and when they don't, they really beat themselves up. If you come in hard with a correction, they're going to shut down. They need encouragement first and lots of grace. Think Adele or Tom Hanks, emotionally deep, sensitive to tone, and quietly intense. And our final temperament is the green temperament. These are introverted, people-oriented kids. They're our peaceful ones. They go with the flow, they don't like conflict, and they often seem easygoing. But here's the thing. They're not always telling you how they really feel. They'll avoid hard conversations just to keep the peace. Think Paul Rudd or Mr. Rogers, steady, kind, and emotionally consistent. Now, why does all this matter? Because the way you talk to your kids should depend on the way that they're wired. What works for one will backfire with another one. I first learned about these temperaments about 10 years ago from temperament expert Kathleen Edelman. Her insight helped me to stop trying to parent my kids like little versions of me and start understanding what actually makes each one of them tick. So when I had the chance to sit down with her recently, I jumped at it. And today I get to share some of that conversation with you. And as I walk you through each of these temperaments, you'll hear clips from Kathleen that really show how to speak your child's language. And again, a way that actually works. Kathleen, welcome.
Welcome, Ted. We did it.
We did it. We made it happen.
We're making it happen.
I love it.
I am so glad I'm here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, just to let our listeners know, Kathleen Edelman has one goal in life, and that is to help people learn to speak kindly to one another. And I love the simplicity and the importance of that. She has spent 30 years counseling and coaching kids and families on the art of communication using the 4 temperaments as a foundation. Audiences around the globe have responded to Kathleen's simple message that kind words are cool, viewing her videos more than 6.5 million times and turning her first book, I Said This, You Heard That, into a bestseller. She has a master's degree in Christian counseling, a big heart for educators, and a surprising passion, and I love this part, for fast cars and martial arts. She is married, has 2 grown children. Kathleen, once again, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Ted. Right. I'm so excited.
One of the descriptions in your book, it says your wiring colors every conversation. Mm-hmm. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, you are wired a certain way. It's innate. So there's a difference between personality and temperament. And what temperaments is how you naturally respond in certain situations. So they fell into 4 different categories. And that's what I teach. I teach is that natural response. And what we found is that in that natural response is a language. Not only how you're going to respond in your core in behavior, but it's also how you're going to hear and how you're going to speak. So that's what I teach, is we have to understand that people hear and speak out of a language, and we have to understand what that looks like. Now, personality is constantly evolving. That's birth order, culture, religion. That's constantly evolving. But your temperament, innate. That's like your eye color, your fingerprint, that you're born with. So once you understand the foundation of your temperament, then that changes everything. So we have to learn the language of each of the four temperaments. Then communication is completely different. Especially if you can learn that about the children in your life, dads. Game changer. Absolute game changer.
So that leads to our big question of the week, Kathleen. Each week we give one big question. And the big question that we wanted to ask you is, how are kids wired? And you've already said that you're talking about something that they come into the world this way.
Yes.
And your work helped us as a married couple, as parents, to say, oh, I think parents sometimes think, oh, I'm just going to mold my kids into who they are. I think that's what our generation was taught. Like, it's all, they were going to be mere putty in our parental hands.
Yes.
And what you taught us, and what I've seen, and what gave us freedom, and quite frankly, removed judgment off of us, was that, hey, your kids come into the world wired away.
We do have to understand ourselves first. Your dads have to know their temperament first. It's about expectation. When we have kids, we put these expectations on our kids because we see them through our temperament. And we're not bad parents. You're just being a parent. But what happens is, and I really want your dads to hear this, most miscommunication is not intentional. Okay, dads? Most miscommunication is not intentional. You're yellow temperament. I'm a blue temperament. And maybe we need to back up for a minute. There's four temperaments.
Yes, when you talk about those.
Yeah. The top two, extroverts, which again, extroverts, and the bottom, introverts. Okay? We're not talking about how much they like to be around people. We're talking, remember I said, we're talking about communication. That's how they process information. So, Ted, you're a yellow, no filter. When you process information, it goes outward, right? There's no filter. You're an outward processor. I'm polar opposite of you. I'm an introvert, so I process information inward. I have to think about it. You talk before you think. I think before I talk. Right?
Yeah, mine's way more dangerous, Kathleen.
Not necessarily, but we do want to know that. Okay. And then there's task and people. So blues and reds are task oriented, where yellow and green are people oriented. So dads, if you're just thinking about your children right now, that's why some kids have to think about it, or they'll say, who's going to be there? While other kids are like, I want to think about it a little bit before I go, or I want to get something done, or I want to do my homework first, right? They're processing information, right? That's the foundation of the temperaments. We have to think about that first. If we don't think about the child's wiring, which is what you asked me about first, we expect behavior automatically out of our temperament. So if you're a yellow dad like you, and you're only looking through a yellow lens, and your child is blue, you are risking that relationship every day, and not intentionally.
Right. You're so spot on. And it's the way our second son is, he's a green. And when we go to family gatherings, he would need a minute before he walked into all those people.
Exactly.
He needed a minute. And I thought he was lacking manners because I was not teaching him. I guess I now know yellow skills where you walk in, hey, everybody, make everybody feel good and talk and make everybody. And he needed a minute. And I wish I'd known about the temperaments earlier, but they did help pretty soon thereafter.
For the green, let them stand on the sideline for a minute. Like just let them get their bearings. And then they'll decide when they're ready to step in. But if you push that guy, his heels are going to go in.
Oh,
right?
We ever said if we wanted him to go slow, we would tell him to hurry.
Exactly.
Let's start with yellow temperament kids. They're extroverted, people-oriented kids. They're fun lovers. They're loud, they're energetic, and always love chasing the next adventure. But if you try to discipline them with a serious face and a long lecture, they'll check out fast.
A yellow, they're going to shrug it off. You know, they wear their heart on their sleeve. Everything's a party. They're going to avoid the processing of deep emotions. You know, they don't want anybody to really know they're hurt, right? The guidance from the parent, you know, stay present in the feeling. You don't want them to brush it off. So, example might be, maybe they didn't make the team, which is a big deal for a yellow, right?
Right.
Maybe they didn't make the team. So they'll just jump to the next thing. They'll be like, you're not even out of the Disney parking lot until they're going, what are we doing next? Right. They're just so, right.
Yes.
So what the parent might want to say something is, it's okay to feel disappointed. It's okay. Like, let's stay there for a minute. You want to talk about it? Just touch base on that before we go on to what's next. It's okay. Like, you want them to know it's okay to feel the feels. Because if it backs up in the pipe too much, the drama is going to be over. I mean, it's going to...
Absolutely. And it is do yellows think that the stopping to talk about emotion, is it FOMO? If I stay in this emotion, I'm not going to feel, that doesn't feel good, and I might miss something?
Not only might you miss something, but somebody might not like you for it.
Okay.
Like now all of a sudden, Ted's too dramatic. He's too whiny. Like, he's not fun anymore. Like, why would we want to hang out with him? Because remember, your whole thing is you want to be liked. And God forbid nobody likes you. Okay. First of all, punishment has to cost a child something. So a little Ted, if you wanted to punish a little Ted, if he deserved punishment, it would be keeping him from the party. Like, it would have to cost you something, and that would align to your temperament. You see?
Let's say your son was supposed to feed the dog, but instead he's teaching his brother how to slide down the stairs in a pillowcase. Instead of saying, feed the dog now, try something like, hey, stuntman, pause the stair Olympics and feed the dog before he chews off his tail. Same correction, less friction. Yellow responds to quick, light, and playful. Now let's talk about the red kids. They're extroverted, task-oriented kids who like to be in charge. If you go head-to-head with them in a power struggle, nobody wins.
The red temperament can get angry when something doesn't go their way. They're going to blame others when things go wrong, for example. So what a parent would do for that red child is they would guide them and teach them that failure is a learning opportunity. So there's so much we could talk about, Ted. We want to learn the power of the pause as a dad. So we would want to teach them that failure is a learning opportunity. It's not a threat to their confidence, because a red child, like, they're a getter-doner. Like, They want to get things accomplished. They want to do things. So you want to help them to just take a breath, take a beat, right? So what that looks like, the exact words I would coach a dad to say to a red child, no matter what temperament the dad is, I would want them to say, hey, I know you wanted to win. I can see that. That's important to you. Let's talk about what you learned during the game. Let's talk about how you could lead your team better next time, because I really, really admire your leadership abilities.
Gotcha.
Now you're validating his or her temperament. You're literally speaking into their strengths.
That's amazing.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So could you walk us through just discipline, something dads can keep in mind?
If it's a red child, most likely, and don't take this out of context, it would have to be physical. Like they have to rake the leaves in the front yard. I'm telling you, the first 10 minutes, they're not saying nice things about their parents. Like they're like, and then the second 10 minutes, they're like, I am never going to rake these leaves again. And then the next 10 minutes, they're figuring entrepreneurially how they're going to get other kids to rake the leaves for them, because that's how they think they're task. But most likely they're never going to rake those leaves again because they don't want to do it. So it has to be task oriented, physical, something running around the house 10 times,
So instead of you're going to be doing this now because I said so, try, you want to knock out math or reading first. It's the same structure, less resistance. Red kids cooperate more when they feel in control. Blue temperament kids are introverted, task-oriented kids. They're deep feelers and perfectionists. They need correction delivered with care.
So the blue temperament, they internalize failure. Okay. So what I put down for them is, they can feel inadequate or ashamed if something happens in a failure or disappointment. So the parent guide, again, doesn't matter the temperament of the parent. We're talking about the temperament of the child now. You want to reassure them. You want to reassure them of their worth, right? That their worth isn't tied up into the performance. You're going to find out that a blue child, perfection is on both their weakness and their strength side, right? So you want to help them see the big picture. You want to see that you want to teach them that value is in the process, not in the performance. Okay. So it's going to look like this. You want to say, gosh, you studied really hard, and effort makes a difference. Effort matters. Maybe you can adjust your studies next time, and let's see how we can give yourself credit and value for the effort you put in. Let's go celebrate that today. Do you see? So again, we're pouring into their strengths and what they accomplished. Because sometimes blues can lose that. Do you see? The blue melancholy child can get so focused. And I can remember my son coming in and throwing himself on the couch and me going, dude, what happened? I only got a 96. And I'm like, dude, 96? He goes, I could have gotten 103. Okay.
And the yellow's going, hey, I passed.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. But here's what you have to understand about blues, though. Like my son, I walked past him in the foyer of my house one time, and he was sitting on the last step. And I was like, Bryce, buddy, what are you doing? He's like, I'm in timeout. And I'm like, well, what did you do? And he's like, well, I threw Thomas on the floor because I was frustrated. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like he literally put himself in timeout, So blues are kind of like that. They're like wired for etiquette. They are very right and wrong. So the chances of you having to punish a blue child is very low. Maybe it would be me not being able to go to the library to get the new book in the series of books that I was reading. You have to line them up per the temperament. You cannot send a blue child to their room.
They're like, awesome.
They're like, yippee.
So say your daughter spills juice. Instead of saying, you should have asked for help, try, hey, I love that you gave pouring the juice a shot. Next time, we'll tag team it, okay? Or you usually stay on top of things. What do you think, got in the way today? Encouragement plus curiosity equals growth for blue kids. Green kids are introverted and people-oriented. There are peacemakers, but often quiet about what they really feel.
For the green temperament, they can withdraw, shut down. They're, they can be unaffected. Like your son can seem like, oh, it wasn't a big deal. It didn't really matter, right? But did it? right? So we want to create a space where they can open up without pressure, right? Where, you can be patient and provide reassurance that their feelings matter. Does that sound familiar with your son?
Exactly. I could never ask him questions of like, what's your number one or what's your favorite of something? Because I feel like every time I say, hey, buddy, if you could only eat one thing for the rest of your life, or if you had to go on vacation to the same place every time, it would, I don't know. Because you mentioned the word pressure. And so I learned to go, hey, bud, like, what's your top 3 things?
Yeah.
Even how I speak to him to pull that pressure back off of him because he didn't like the push.
It's very interesting because they go under the radar until they're pushed in a corner.
Amen.
So what that might look like, let's say he has a friendship conflict, right? What the parent might want to say is, hey, I noticed you're quiet after school. Like, this is so important. When you're ready, I'm here to talk it through. See, you want to make sure they're doing things on their time frame. Because again, the push, right?
The push
is not good. You're not going to put a green child to sit in timeout. I mean, they would love that.
Green? What's the greens economy that you...
Again, the green's probably the most difficult because the question I get most is how do you motivate a green? And you can only motivate a green by what they're interested in. And that's also how you would discipline or punish them. So it's very customized to the child.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense.
If your child, it would depend on like what your son is interested in. And then the discipline and punishment would line up to what they're interested in.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
So say your child seems off at a party. Don't just push. Just ask, did anything weird happen today? And then wait. Let silence do the work. During a disagreement, try, hey, I know you've been really quiet. What's going on in your head? No pressure, just space to feel safe.
And let me just make sure I say this. I would think it's a loss, I'm telling you, at the end of this podcast, if I heard somebody say, oh, Ted's so funny, he's yellow. Oh, Kathleen's so thoughtful, she's blue. Oh, so-and-so's red, he's a leader. Rachel's so green, she's kind. No, we don't do that in temperaments. Every temperament can be funny. Every temperament can be a good leader. Every temperament can be thoughtful. Every temperament can be kind.
That's great.
The difference is they're going to do it from that innate core of their temper. Your son can be a great leader, but he's going to do it very differently than a red or very differently than you. And you know what? That's okay.
Okay, dads, before we wrap up, here's the takeaway. It is so easy to parent through the lens of our own temperament, but your kid may not be wired like you at all. And real growth happens when we stop asking, why aren't they more like me? And start asking, what do they need from me? Kathleen, I think she puts it best. She says, our kids are wired a certain way. They're not blank slates. So take what you've learned about yellow and red and blue and green and try it this week. Stop correcting a blue kid like a red. Give a green kid space instead of pressure. You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to be curious. And we, as always, want to say, thanks for listening. We know that your yellow, red, blue, or green kid will be glad you did.
Thanks again for listening to the All Pro Dad podcast. Behind every episode is our amazing team. Producer, Haley Mawat, audio and video editor, Buck Buchanan, and production coordinator, Corey Walliff. All Pro Dad is the fatherhood program of the nonprofit Family First. Along with our motherhood program, iMom, we exist to help you love your family well. So remember, if you have more questions than answers, then you're probably in the right place. See you next time.